Okay, we are all set. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Thank you for joining today. My name is Ignacio Vasquez. I am the Graduate Certificate Director for SDM. And it's my pleasure today to have you all here. And if you are watching this in YouTube, welcome too. I am going to spend the next hour together with a few of our current students, giving you all an overview of SDM's graduate certificate program. Roughly, I will take about 30 minutes to give an introduction of different aspects of SDM and the certificate program. And we will use the second half of today's session for a Q&A with the current students. And also I can try to provide some more insight if there are things that are not explained or that need further clarification. So without further ado, let's get going. So today's session is about SDM's graduate certificate program. It's a little bit different compared to the master's session. So we thought it warranted a dedicated explanation. For those of you who are not familiar with SDM, SDM stands for System Design and Management. We are a graduate program at MIT that has two main educational offerings, a master's program and a graduate certificate program. Both of them, however, are within the same venue where we are looking for students who want to lead, not live engineering. We are a mid-career program. That means that when I am thinking about a graduate student at SDM, it's someone who is in their 30s or maybe even early 40s in general. So we are looking for people who are experienced and who have had exposure to real life industrial complex challenges. SDM started within MIT over 25 years ago by a call from industry to provide graduate level educational options for their experienced engineers, designers, and future technical managers. We have a focus on developing systems level expertise across industries. We are not necessarily looking for one dedicated discipline as mechanical engineering or software or aerospace. We are really trying to approach them all, while at the same time providing also students the ability to manage large and complex projects. Our overall idea is that we want to educate engineering leaders, and the emphasis of today in the certificate program is part of our focus also on offering career-compatible options. And I will get a little bit deeper on this later on the presentation, but the certificate program is something that can be followed concurrently in parallel to a full-time job. It comes with challenges, and that's what we are here to explain. So I'm very happy to have that opportunity. Our current cohort of certificate students comes from a number of different companies. We have companies like John Deere and Chevron, who are private companies, but we also have some public-facing organizations like Lawrence Livermore National Lab, which is part of the Secretary of Energy, the Department of Energy. We have about 28 students this year. Average age is around 35 years old, and about 1/5 are women. This will give you a rough sense for what is the profile of the cohort. The total SDM cohort, together with the master's program, is in the mid-90s. And we see the entire group as a single cohort. And I will, again, elaborate more further ahead, because both the certificate and the master's students take the same course during the next 9 months that they are with us at SDM. And we try to make no distinctions on the kind of assignments that they get, the exposure that they get in the context of the class. Now, graduate students in the certificate program have an average 12 years of experience. A good portion of them, about half, already have a graduate degree. So if you already have a master's or already have a PhD and think that this is not necessarily down your lane, remember that because we are a professionalizing program, this is usually something that's enriching the industrial experience that you may already have. Most of the graduate certificate students are sponsored by their organizations, but this is not a requirement. Historically, the graduate certificate has been more of a pull from industry, well, where we get asked, like, hey, is there a possibility for me to send some of my employees to the program without them having to stop working full time? So that's how it was created, and that's kind of like the venue where we're still at. But it is not a requirement for people to be sponsored by their organizations. Around 10% of our graduate certificate students are local to the Massachusetts area, but that's also not a requirement or a detriment for their experience. It does mean, however, that majority of the graduate students in the certificate are following the program remotely, and in some occasions also from abroad. As I mentioned, the two programs that SDM focuses on are our master's program and our certificate program. They are different. Their admission process is different for each one. But the one thing that they have in common very, very strongly is that they all follow what we call the core, which is an integrated course that lasts about 9 months, running from September to May, that covers systems architecture, systems engineering, and project management. In this one class, master's and certificate students work together in mixed teams for the duration of the year, as to establish a true sense of cohort and unity, so that they can also learn from each other, because everybody comes from different companies, different industries, and well, many other different things. The certificate program does have the unique course, which is the Capstone project, which master students do not pursue. And the Capstone project is something that happens over the summer for 10 weeks, where certificate students get to work on a project or a concept from their employer under supervision of MIT researchers and in close collaboration with their organizations. This is really one of the main benefits that an organization may take from supporting their employees to be part of the certificate program. The core, which is the class that both master's and certificate students take in common, is delivered synchronously during 9 months. That means that you are actually taking class and you log in to a Zoom call, such as this one, for about 4 hours every week, a couple of hours on Monday, a couple of hours on Wednesday. And you have also the ability to interact live with the professors who are teaching, but also with the rest of the students. That's something that people need to take into account if you are going to be in a different time zone, or if this clashes somehow with your regular working hours. Another characteristic that both masters and certificate have are the different modes in which people can become students. We do have, for the masters, people who are full-time on campus, and that can be 1 or 2 years. We have people who are local commuters. They continue working. They live in the Boston area, and they participate in the master's or the certificate. But specifically, the certificate is designed to be completed almost entirely remotely. We do require people to be in campus for 3 weeks for the duration of the program, 1 week in August, 1 week in January, and a couple of days in mid-May for the final presentations of the 9-month course. Aside from those 3 events, the rest of the program can be completed remotely. And during the summer, for the Capstone, people have the option to come to Boston for the final presentation of the capstone, but it is not a mandatory feature of the program. A question that some of you might be asking yourselves is, can I move from the certificate to the master's at some point? And the answer is yes, there is a path for graduates of the certificate to apply to the master's to be considered for the admission. And if they are admitted into the master's program, the credits, the units that they obtain during the certificate are then moved towards the degree. But it is not an automatic step, and the requirements for the certificate need to be completed in order to be considered for the master's. So it's a decision that we advise everybody to take very carefully and to really consider whether that's indeed the better option for you. Let me tell you a little bit more about what the core pertains. I mentioned that the core, the one class that lasts 9 months, covers systems architecture, systems engineering, and project management. The basic idea of the core is that we want to show all of the students a structure where you can take a very early idea, a very early stage engineering project concept, and take it through its entire life cycle, from design, stakeholder engagement, to generating options, to evaluating and assessing them, and then to how are you going to roll out that project inside of the organization. None of this are dark arts. There is nothing in here that has the difficulty of quantum computing or anything like that. It really relies a lot on discussion, reflection, and sharing among the students together with a facilitator from the faculty to understand areas that we all do not necessarily have experience, even though you have been working for a dozen years. So a lot of the learning happens not only together with the faculty, but together with the rest of the fellow students, which is why we consider experience and the relevant kind of professional experience to be very important on grasping all of these concepts. The timeline for the year in terms of courses is very simply broken in this way. We have the yellow blocks, the 3 blocks starting from the top, that are the core, what we call foundations of system design and management. And these 3 courses are one very long engagement where we cover systems architecture, systems engineering, and project management. They last 2 semesters, and inside of MIT, January is considered a special academic time frame, which is also part of the course. And that's one class. And as I mentioned before, the certificate capstone, which runs over 10 weeks during the summer. Now, one of the things that makes the certificate special is this idea of the capstone project. In the capstone project, which by the way is not a review of what you will have learned during the core, it's more of a dedicated application to a project inside of your company. One of the challenges one of the features in the core is that we try to bring everybody up to the same level. Even though people have different experiences, they come from different fields, and they come with different know-how. So we are trying to homogenize the entire group. Because of that, a lot of the examples tend to be more general examples, and not necessarily you will have access to all of the data that you would like to have in order to make a comprehensive assessment of whatever concept you are evaluating. In the capstone, we are actually going at it from the other point of view, which is, let's start with the fact that you are going to be working this in the context of your organization, and you are going to have access to all of the information that you can get your hands on. Now, with that, then we start making an evaluation or an assessment on what are the methodologies, the tools, the principles that are useful for that specific project. And then we are working at it a little bit backwards, if you will, and trying to learn what tools work better under what context. In the course of those 10 weeks, the whole idea is that we go from a cocktail napkin level concept to a full-on multi-concept evaluation, depending on what is actually the idea that you are proposing. In the past, some of the concepts that students have worked on during the Capstone projects involve anywhere from the design of IT infrastructure for a new organization or a new business unit inside of their companies. And there also have been, for example, people who are studying different concepts for autonomous vehicles in farm settings. There is one very specific company working on that. So it depends on what your interest is for the capstone, and it is our job then to support the evolution of that concept over those 10 weeks. One thing that you will probably hear time and again in SDM is that there is a lot of teamwork. The vast majority of the work, over 2/3 of the work during the year, happen in the context of multiple teams. Because in the spirit of trying to develop engineering leaders, we want you to experience and experiment with different approaches for leading, for participating, for contributing, and for resolving some of the challenges that you will see in these early stage concept evaluation projects. So these are the dates for the academic year 2025-2026. I am putting them over here only for reference, because if you are considering applying to the program, as I mentioned before, we do require people to be on campus for 3 weeks, and often that's a conversation that you need to have with your employer for, at the very least, getting that time, if not, hopefully, support of some other kind to attend those sessions. During the final day on the certificate program, we have the final presentations of our capstone projects, and we have the diplomas for everybody. It's an optional, it's an option to go to Boston for the event, but it is mandatory for everybody to participate. If people do decide to go to Boston, then it is also one of my jobs to party together with you. So we usually have something where families are invited. Due to the age of the cohort, we also have usually people with young families. So we try to do it also something that they are going to be able to enjoy, and it's always a good time. So that's a perk as well. And spouses also tend to join those events. So we really try to do something that's fit for the entire family and not only for graduate students, whatever that may be on how that's celebrated. So, are graduate students MIT alumni? This is a question that I added the slide this time because it came up during our last session. The answer is the certificate is not a full degree, so it does not get a sort of full alumni status. But because the certificate does grant graduate academic units, we actually negotiated with the MIT Alumni Association to grant SDM certificate graduates affiliate alumni status. And that's a special kind of status that does allow for a few of the perks of having been part of this level program, including an alum.mit, an SDM alum MIT email holder that we manage. And as part of the SDM community, you also will get invited whenever we're in town. If there are things going on in Boston, we try to also reach out to all of our alumni community, including certificate graduates. I have been talking a lot about the core and about Capstone project, about sort of like these class setting events, But certificate students also, I have been working really hard over the last couple of years to open some of the other co-curricular options that are owned by SDM as a department, so that certificate students are also able to join. And two of the more important ones are our tech treks, and these are industry visits that we organize regularly. We host essentially two types of visits. We have our local New England tech treks, that's how we call them, where we go for half a day, once a month, to a Boston-based organization. But it is not only to get a tour. We actually design those visits so that we can have conversations with some of their senior management. We try to better understand how are those organizations dealing with system design challenges, with project management challenges, and try to match whether what we are covering in class stands up to reality during those visits. So that it's a very good opportunity for networking and to assess, how far or how close some of the things that we are discussing are actually being dealt with in some of organizations that are selected because they have something interesting to say about system design. So those are our local New England treks, but we also have our flagship treks. Flagship treks are 1 week, and these are situations where we actually go further away. So not only in Boston. So we have one yearly trek to San Francisco, one yearly trek to Tokyo, and as of last year, one yearly trek to the Netherlands. Now, these are very different regions, and we try to also represent how different they are compared to what we would see, for example, in New England. So the organizations, the companies that we are visiting in each one are organizations that are somehow representative of the innovation and engineering culture in those regions. And it is not necessarily that we get or hope that one single student is going to attend every one of these visits, but it should be a unique experience. And again, the content, the visits during all of the treks is designed to be complementary to what we are covering in the core. And graduate certificate students are able to apply and be selected to join any of these tracks. And the second part is the Student Leadership Committee, which is a group of SDM students, both masters and certificate, that are working in close collaboration with the program to continue improving all the different challenges and ideas and initiatives that we have that are student facing. And these things go all the way from marketing to now, for example, renovating our lounge area to make it a little more colorful, I hope. So certificate students also have the option, and that usually means increasing their network inside of the institute. That's what it boils down to. So I am getting close to the end. The last thing that I want to mention before we move on to the panel and the Q&A is I have gotten a few questions about how can I leverage the coursework if I am thinking, for example, about getting a professional certification like PMP or like CSEP. So it is possible, and every year we have cases of students who take the courses, the hours, so to say, of those courses and validate them to meet requirements that help them get PMP or CSEP certification from PMI or INCOSE. And we do not have a dedicated agreement with either PMI or INCOSE, but it is possible, because we see it every year, to use the content of the courses to meet certain requirements of those certifications. And the other thing that I believe is important to say in here is that the graduate certificate from SDM has full graduate academic units, which means you could be eligible for tuition assistance from your organization if that's available to you. And that's a clear distinction sometimes with the continuing education units that they are not necessarily able to translate to graduate certificate units, no matter the efforts, a different nature to them. So with that, I would like to introduce our student panel for the day. Michael, Michal, I'm going to make a different pronunciation of that, and Oliver are current certificate students. So they are now halfway through the core. So they have now experienced the full fire hose. And I'm very happy for all of you to be here. Thank you to you all for the time to contribute. I would like, if we can start from left to right on the screen, if you can tell us a little bit more about what's your professional background, and how did you end up becoming a SDM graduate certificate student? Michael.
Yes, thank you. So I work at Lincoln Laboratory, and my motivation was really on improving my ability for system of systems development and thinking. I've been doing software development for the last 25, 26 years or so, lots of product development. You know, a number of different companies. I've worked at, Boeing to the 787 to handheld test equipment, et cetera. And so what I was really looking for is just like the things I'm doing now in my professional life is developing systems of systems. And I wanted to have better skills for understanding them, and not just the basic ones where I wanted them to be scalable, and, because these systems are very complicated. And so what I found already with the last semester is this program is really teaching the principles, the methods and tools that can enable that. And it's, using a spiral method. And so it's continuously building upon itself. Ignacio, back to you.
Thanks, Michael. Michal?
Okay, so Ignacio, see if you can keep up this. All right, so first of all, before I start and introduce myself, I would just want to take a minute and say congratulations that you decide on being here on this call, and make for you this is the decision that you, either you already made it or you're still looking for if you do it, but I think it's a huge step forward to decide if you want to attend that program. I really can guarantee it's a fire hose like Ignacio. It's very, very intense. So we have a week off at the moment, but yeah. So to my background, I'm with John Deere. I'm working there as a tractor systems engineer for I think 4 years now. And prior to that, I did my PhD in the robotics and autonomy area. And the reason why I attended the SDM program, there are actually two motivations. First of all, it's MIT, and I wanted to immerse myself into that environment and see what is it really about. And the second one is I have like a systems engineering background, so I am in COSI CSAP by certificate. But what I face in the Deere environment, that we often have challenges to really, for example, connecting systems engineering work with, on the one side, the architecting work. So coming up with a good architecture with a roadmap for example, tractors, but then not only designing that kind of system, but also building a bridge towards program management, which is, for example, the project management capabilities. And I wanted to know how that interface really looks like and how I can utilize this on doing my job better. So this is one of the core ideas. And so far, it really keeps up. So I learned quite a lot of new stuff. So to you.
Thanks, Michael. Oliver.
Hello, everyone. To be here today and being interested in this great program. So similar to Michael, I'm here also working for John Deere. I'm an engineering manager currently, 20 years experience. And in addition to what Michael said, I had a lot of system engineers already in my team in the past. And our projects and systems are getting more and more complex these days. And what's also important from my end, that we also drive that knowledge throughout leadership, because that will definitely encourage everyone that we increase adopting these methodologies throughout our company. And that's a gap that we figured out in the past, that it's not just the individual contributors who should have that knowledge. It also has to be cultural change throughout leadership.
All right. Thank you, Oliver. Okay, so for all our guests, if you have any questions, please raise your hand in Zoom. I will keep an eye on this. You can also drop your questions in the chat. And while we wait, which I very much look forward to, some interaction, let me ask an open question to Oliver, Michael, Michal. I'll keep up. And just jump in. So you are all keeping full-time jobs. How are you balancing this? Like, I mean, it takes truly 10 to 20 hours every week of coursework, homeworks, assignments, all of this. So how is that balance? How do you work it out?
For me, I just wanted to say, like, it's day by day. It's tough at times. I'm not kidding. Like this past January term, it was the way the classes and having to be present for a week and just to let things go from work and all that. But what I'm finding though is what the time spent in the class is absolutely applicable in my day job, and so there's a lot of benefit there. I'm not sure I'm answering your
thanks,
question
Michael.
though.
I can add to that a little bit. So before I started, I was used to be super efficient. And my idea was maybe it doesn't take me 10 to 20 hours. Maybe I can do it in 8. I can tell you, you need to 10 to 20 hours for sure, because everyone in this cohort is super smart. And I think you need 10 to 20 hours when you are super efficient already. So, and you definitely need to know when it's enough. So, I mean, you can always go above and beyond, but sometimes 99% is okay. And don't waste another 10 hours. So that's probably something what you need to consider. But the time invest, but you also should know is it's not like that you can plan on that every week. So some weeks are a little lighter. Therefore, the other week is a little bit more heavy. So especially with your work schedule and everything, you need to try to figure out how to stay flexible to handle all that. And be sure to let your family know what's coming up the next year. So that's very critical.
Yeah, and Oliver, I think I can totally relate on this. So I'm also a father of a 3-year-old son who's really demanding on the time. So I think there are multiple aspects to it. So first of all, as Oliver said, is having like a time plan for about 1 or 2 month time frame to think about, okay, now I know what kind of opportunity sets are those tasks that you need to hand in. Like every 2 weeks, there might be an opportunity set where you have some group work associated with. Some of them are individual, but might be an average like every 2 weeks. And if you know that this is coming into the next month or 2 months, you can adapt and plan your time accordingly. And I think a lot of this is actually on time boxing, like a Pareto principle, figuring out what is the 80% and not what is the 100%. And then at the end, also thinking and getting kind of an agreement with your wife to take over family tasks. I think that's I owe her a little bit after that, definitely. And yeah, simple as that. I have also kind of a demanding job. So thinking about, well, how can I use, for example, building up overtime hours or use my vacation days efficiently? So there are multiple ways and tools how you can deal with it.
Right. So along those lines, actually, we have a question in the chat. So this is one from Lev. I'm going to read out. So how has the program helped you grow personally or professionally? Is there a skill or mindset you have developed here that you didn't expect?
Yep. So I can maybe start with that one. One thing which is really there, if you look into the background of the cohort, all the SDMers, so there's really no much of a difference between certificates and master students. It's just one cohort, so you act as a unit. Of course, you have like different groups, but one thing that I found kind of enlightening. So the SDM is doing a lot of work for building up a cohort, so bonding together, in the boot camp right at the start, so that we were building up a network. And what that really came into my place is you have such a diverse cohort from different industries, from different academic backgrounds all over the world, from Asia, from Europe, from Africa, from South America, from North America, and so on. And really coming together, working together, and finding solutions and understanding, and have kind of a generative discussion on how you can solve certain topics. That is something that I found really enlightening, and I learned quite a lot on this.
Anything else? Or wait, I can jump to the next. Let me jump to the next.
Yeah, I can
Raymond.
maybe add
Oli.
something, Ignacio. So the question was about personally and professionally. So I think you always learn things which I figured out you can actually use the next day in the day-to-day job. So a lot of these techniques, I was not expecting that this is possible, but I think a lot of processes are used in companies already, but the SDM certificate and what you learn it really helps you to go to the next level of things, from the day-to-day job. And from a personal skill set, since I think when I did my first degree, there was not even real internet existing. I was not expecting that now I'm at the forefront using all these new technologies and explaining the younger folks around me how AI works and everything. So that's definitely something what I was not expecting when I started.
I would like to add that I found, discussing what I've been learning at the program with other people at the lab, I found that there's other groups that absolutely use the same tools and techniques, et cetera. And it's interesting just to see their perspective and understand that what I'm learning is definitely applicable to what, I could, be working in those groups as well. And so I would also add the communications aspect of this is a heavy load, and learning to make sure that you properly set expectations with the people around you, and confronting issues in a way that, continues to build relationships. You get to practice this a lot, and leadership skills, and you're practicing all the time. Everybody gets opportunities here.
Perfect. All right, let me check. Raymond, can you unmute?
Of course.
There
Hello.
you go.
Thanks for the presentation so far. It makes total sense, especially complemented with the master's presentation that I've been attending. I have a question to the panel. So I'm a product manager by trade, currently a product owner working on a complex system at a company called Schneider Electric in Montreal, Canada. And my current challenge is working with adoption. So it's relatively easy or straightforward, at least, to build the system that I'm working on. And I'm curious to learn more about the methodologies at SDM. But my question is, in your respective roles, did you find that the skills you learned at SDM or that you are learning have been useful in helping you go through the tough discussions? I know, Michael, you talked about that with communication, but how has it impacted the rest of the group? Do you feel that your influence is increased, or do you find that you only gained hard technical skills and not as much influence?
So, one of the practices that they like to talk about is, the point of an architect is to bring clarity to the stakeholders or to people that you're communicating with. And so the professors absolutely talk about that and how to build that kind of rapport with the people that you're presenting to, and how to present information that is going to connect with them. So that, they absolutely talk about that. And, we use this, up one, down two kind of methodology where you're looking at the system as it exists as a whole, and with respect to other systems, and then also details below it, so that, people can see how everything's functionally working. So.
Yeah, maybe some addition to that one. So Michael, I totally agree on this with you. So you ask about allies and allies and detractors. So I mean, it's kind of company specific in a way, depending on what the, let's say, overall systems engineering maturity or your company is at the moment, probably. the way how I see it, or my perception is, so I come from a company that has like a kind of, or these certain areas have a really good systems engineering exposure where they use like specific methods on really problem solving issues. So I think a lot of this one, if you want to find how I can increase the influence, thinking about, well, what kind of methods can I use in order to deliver certain kind of values for problem solving? And that's for architecting, it's for engineering, it's for project management, and how it's all related. So thinking about architecting, engineering, program management really also as a system that is somehow connecting with each other, and then thinking about, okay, how can I apply certain methods? And these kind of things is really something that you will learn throughout the program, and figuring out, well, if I face certain kind of problems, what is the best tool set to solve it? And I think a lot of this let's say increasing of allies and finding value is really by demonstrating this. And I think you learn it by the opportunity sets, so the tasks that you get, by the Capstone project and so on. So that really gives you exposure to that topic.
Thank you. All right, let me give the word to Christian.
Thank you, Ignacio. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for this time. It's great. Briefly about myself: 15 years in financial services industry. In the past 3 years in this AI space, always problem solving, driving productivity, efficiency, reinventing processes, challenges. And I get to work with clients from many industries right now. And what really attracted me to this program is the design thinking methodology and how to, especially in AI, there's this perception that AI will fix everything, but you still need pretty robust thinking, problem solving, workflow design. And so I'm just curious if you can perhaps, Michael, I saw you smiling, but I'm curious about your thoughts in terms of how this program and how maybe AI is playing a role, or what sort of overlap you see there. I'm just curious. Yeah, so that's the question I wanted to ask. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so my role and where I'm working at Lincoln Laboratories, I'm an artificial intelligence researcher. And so to me, what your question is directly what I wanted, how to apply systems thinking to artificial intelligence systems. Because these systems have to exist within other systems, and you need just a better holistic type thinking when that's happening. One of the exercises that we did this past semester was to do research within MIT at large and pull that research in and kind of really do systems thinking about that research, and then present that in the assignment, which I did. I did that on reinforcement learning, and I talked to 7 different graduate students, postdoc, and so it's allowed me to think not just about solution specific, but more broadly a solution into neutral kind of ways, so that you're not just ham jamming some tool into a particular solution and to a problem. And so I found it incredibly useful.
Amazing. Thank you.
Let me actually double click on one of the things in there, Michael, because I didn't really talk about Spring projects, but it seems to me like an interesting thing. So I will just very briefly cover this. So Spring projects are it's a semester-long engagement where, in the context of the class, we bring something like 20 different or external organizations with dedicated challenges that have been curated and filtered and are designed to not have an easy solution. And then student teams work with those organizations for about 4 or 5 months. Now, students select what do they want to work on. And it's interesting because usually one of the patterns that I see is students choose something that they are not experts in. And they are like, oh, I have always been working on autonomous vehicles, but that's not what I want to do for this. I want to use this new thinking, but now designing a process for a hospital. And like I'm curious because now, you know, all three of you, the panel, you have been in the trip for 3 weeks. So what can you tell us about that experience? Being deployed at a high level in a field where you are not necessarily experts.
Been really interesting. So the team I'm on we're working on a project for Airbus. Well, not for Airbus, but Airbus proposed a project for aerial cargo using a UAV. You know, and so it's been interesting to be. I mean, it's definitely a field that I don't have a whole lot of experience in, and learning to work with them and admiring the problem and the space around it, and has been incredibly useful to see how these tools, these principles and methods and tools all get applied. And you know, we're just at the beginning stage here, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So Ignacio, you meant, oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Okay, yep. So I'm working on so first of all, we had like Ignacio really puts together some great projects, some really challenging topics, and I'm pretty sure if you decide to go that path for the SDM, you will find an amazing project or amazing challenge that you can work on. So I'm personally working on a Hyundai Mobis system, which is a tier 1 supplier in Korea. And they want to work on, let's say, building up a robot robotic platform. So it's kind of similar to what I've been exposed to previously, but what I found interesting is that we really work on an international team. So I have the sponsor in Korea, I have a colleague who's located in India, I have myself located in Germany, someone located in Boston, and the other one located on the West Coast. So you're equally spread around the globe, which is challenging in terms of finding a time frame, but really working on kind of problems, challenge there. And you asked there on the design thinking problem. I mean, we are currently right into it to think about, well, what are possible solutions, how we can innovate and solve that particular problem by applying this, and then bringing this not only from the design thinking aspect, but also bringing this towards a concept that we can present to the sponsor or also elaborate together with the sponsor. And that is actually kind of a fun activity. Sorry, Oliver, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I think what Ignacio mentioned already is very critical to choose something where you're not familiar with. You might figure that out in your daily job already, that you are quite biased on some things. And now working on a project where we had, at least I am working on the in-service oil inspection for Chevron, and I had no clue about oil tanks before. So, and applying the techniques and tools, what we've learned, doing that in a solution neutral mindset, and then seeing how much progress you did already in the first 2 weeks by applying all these techniques is just phenomenal. So it's great to see.
It's something that I probably will have to update now for, you know, continuous improvement of my next session, include a little bit more about the Spring project. So let me there are no more questions. So everybody, please, if you have anything, please drop in the chat or send me a DM so that I can call you out. But one more thing that I want to sort of like explore with the panel a little bit. So all the people that we have here, all our guests, are people who are considering for applying to the certificate program. What would you have liked to know before applying to make a better decision, or to have more level set expectations? Because I'm pretty sure that you had an idea, Oliver, you mentioned before. We are very clear when I say it's going to take 20 hours a week, and every year everybody thinks, sure, but that's 20 hours for normal people. And then you show up and you find out that it's indeed 20 hours. So what are the insights that you would like to share for someone who is considering applying to the program?
For me, I would just say that this program is absolutely worth it. You're challenging yourself. It is, everything that's being said is true, and you'll grow from it. I remember the the very beginning for boot camp week, they had like a barbecue for students. I was joining it and I'm like, what am I getting myself into? Is this, and, feeling very nervous. I would love to go back and just tell myself it's okay. And you're going to be just fine. You're going to fit in just well. They have really thought hard about everybody that joins the program. Everybody is extremely qualified. It's amazing. Like, you have conversations with people and they just get it. You don't have to go through long drawn out explanations about everything. People are really good. But still, because that everybody's good, that expectations is still really high, but you can do it. And so that's some perspective I have.
If I can add to Michael a little bit, so you mentioned that everyone is extremely good. What you do at the beginning is probably yes, you have a great strengths in your own specialty, but you only see like how strong everyone else is. And in Germany we have a saying like everyone cooks with water. So it took me a while to understand that, because we all have different specialties, but everyone can bring a specialty into the cohort. And it took me a while to figure that out. So I was really struggling the first 4 weeks, getting back into school and having all these great people around me. And it really took me until beginning of October to be fully comfortable in the cohort, that I'm right here. And that would have been nice to know from the beginning, or if someone would have shared that with me prior to that.
Yeah, maybe from my perspective, making sure just do it. So, but one of the main things is, to be honest, is make sure that you have, for you personally, the why defined. So why you're doing it, why would you like to attend it? Because I mean, we always say 20 hours, and I mean, I remember 1 year back, I was in the same seat as you were. Say, okay, well, come on, 20 hours, that's beside your job, that's regular PhD work that I did back then. But it's a challenge, right? And also, and with every challenge, it really puts you out of the comfort zone. So for me, it was definitely out of my comfort zone to get introduction to new teams every time and getting familiarized. But it's type of, when you're enlarged or go out of your comfort zone, actually there's where is the growth happening, and where you extend your thinking, where you extend the way, and where you explore also yourself, how you deal with certain situations within the team, with the content and so on. And but you need to know why, because there might be a situation, especially for me, it was in December, where my family was sick. I have like a lot of work to do, and I have a couple of tasks that I need to deliver in time. And there were like really tough times. And if you say, and there probably someone coming, so I actually am there at the moment again, because the January was pretty tough. But if you say, if you know for yourself why you're doing this, what you would like to get out of this, then you won't have a problem to bring this to the success. And I have to say, specifically to Ignacio and all the TAs, so the teaching assistants, so the professors, and all people who are supporting that SDM program, they're really great. They help you wherever they can. They are really good mentors there, and it's really, really good organized.
I have that in recording, so I'll use it during my next yearly review. Thank you, guys. All right, so we are at the 5-minute to end mark, and I just want to take a couple of minutes to walk you through timelines. And thank you so much, Oliver, Michael, Michal, for everything. High-level requirements for the graduate certificate application. We are looking for experience. We are looking for people who have a exposure, background, a deep technical understanding on something, whatever your area of specialty is. So that usually means a bachelor's degree with 5 years or more of experience, or a master's degree with 3+ years of experience. These are guidelines. We do take them sort of like a rule of thumb. There are situations where people are a little bit lower. There are situations where people are far away from this. Keep in mind that the average experience of the cohort is about 12 years. So these are sort of like the minimum that we are after. We are also looking for you having had the experience of contributing to product or system development initiatives. It is vague, and that's on purpose. It is not the same experience if you have been a technical product manager compared to if you have been a project manager for civil engineering projects. And your interpretation of what does it mean to be a contributor to a product or system development initiative should come across in your application. So if it is a little vague, it's totally normal. We are also looking for people who have had responsibility in a level of leadership. Now, again, this is a broad interpretation of leadership. You do not necessarily must have been a manager or line manager or a project manager or having had that title. But we are looking for you having taken ownership for initiatives inside of your organization or in some sort of like complex environment. Because we are going to throw a lot of challenges at you, and challenges where you have to sort of like pick up things as you are going. And that's something that we really value. All of this to say, there is a lot of learning that happens in the classroom. There is a lot of learning that happens with professors. There is probably more learning happening from just like learning from your peers, from discussions with the other fellows, for making sense of challenges, for figuring things out together with somebody else who is also a student. And we want to make sure that people are going to be able to bring something into the learning experience of everybody else. So that's part of the curation process for the cohort. The timeline for the applications are here. So April 25 are the deadline for applications. There are about a week in addition to receive the final version of the recommendation letters. And we announce decisions for the graduate certificate on June 6th. If you have any questions, if there are more things that you would like to follow up on, please reach out to my colleague, Amal. She is over here as well, online somewhere in the, oh, there you are. Thank you, Amal. She is our admissions coordinator. She is going to be able to help you with making sense of what precisely has to go into the application, whether there are other things that you would like to clarify. If you have sort of like higher level questions about is this a right fit for me, or how do I get sponsorship from my organization, feel free to reach out to me. It might take a little while for me to get back to you, but I will get back to you. And thank you for being here. We are seconds away from 1 p.m. Boston, so I am very proud that both Michal and Oliver are going to be very proud because of being punctual. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody, Oliver, Michael, Michal, Amal, Naomi, the rest of the SDM team. Thank you for all of you for being here. The session has been recorded. It will be available in YouTube in a few days. So with that, I am going to stop the recording and go back to my hoodie. And yes, that was part of the recording. So thank you, everybody.